Hello, welcome back to Digital Garden 25. I'm here with Padraig MacColgain from Colt Data Centers. Padraig, thanks very much for joining us. We're about to, I think we've got the last session before the end of the day here at day one of Digital Garden. How's it been for you so far?
Yeah, it's been fascinating. I'm really impressed with the turnout. A lot of people, I know a lot of people from my past year in Japan. Mm-hmm. I've worked with some of the people, I've had some of them as customers, but yeah, very good representation, a lot of interest, and yeah, fantastic speeches as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can really kind of feel the enthusiasm for something that's specifically focused on the Japanese data center industry, because I don't know about you, we go to a lot of kind of events where there's very much a regional focus. But yeah, it's really interesting to see this one kind of focused in on Japan, and quite a unique market within APAC and within the world as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how long Colt have been here, kind of what's been going on for you guys in Japan?
Sure. So Colt started in Japan in 1999. We were then a company called KVH Telecom, but both ourselves and Colt UK were owned by the same company, Fidelity Investments. And since around 2015, we've had very strong infrastructure development in data centers. So we've worked for Colt Data Center Services, and we have today 6 sites that are live in Japan, 4 of which are in Inzai. 1 is in Tokyo, and the other's down in Kana. The most recent site went live last month in Inzai, so we call that Inzai 4.
Yep.
And yeah, it's going well. We have a lot of customers, and the hyperscale market is certainly very, very busy at the moment.
Yeah, that 4th Inzai site, that was the second one that you guys built with the Mitsui Co, right, as part of a joint venture. Yeah, I guess it'd be good if you could maybe just first tell us a little bit about how that kind of JV came together, what the role of the 2 different firms are.
Sure. So the Sunrise joint venture was formed between Fidelity and Mitsui about 4 years ago, and Colt Data Center Services is part of that as a service provider. So both Fidelity and Mitsui are providing the investors and the funding for these data centers, and we're developing them, finding customers, and we're managing them as well.
Okay, got it. And then it was Inzai 4, and then was the other one Kana, yeah. Any other kind of further sites in Japan that are on the radar for you guys?
We're looking at building out 2 more sites, another one in Inzai, and further up the road in Yoshikawa, just inside Saitama.
Okay. Yeah. What is it about those 2 locations that are kind of standing out right now?
Well, they both have very different focuses. The Inzai site, obviously Inzai is a big data center location in and around Tokyo, so there's a lot of activity there, a lot of interest from customers. Yoshikawa is a little bit further away, but it's also a new site and a new location, and we think that we were the first company to move into Inzai, 2008. We think we found another good location which might become a new area for data centers around Tokyo. Not all data centers can be built in Inzai, and more areas are required. Yeah,
well, we were just hearing in the previous panel session, right, about that kind of I guess build in more rural locations now that you can build for AI, and you don't have to worry as much about latency. Also, I guess it's easier to find power and land there. So yeah, do you see this kind of or do you expect there to be this more disbursement of data centers outside of Tokyo and Osaka for coming to Japan, or do you think those 2 markets will stay as the focal point?
From our experience, those 2 markets will stay. Our new site in Saitama will serve the Tokyo area, but it has very good land, it has good local government, which is very important, and it has good connectivity and good power. So it has all those things that are required for a data center. Whether people will move there, we hope they will. We think is a good proposition, and we're trying to make that case to our potential customers.
Yeah.
But I heard a lot of talk about further sites, maybe Ibaraki, maybe Hokkaido, maybe Kyushu. But that hasn't been our experience so far.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. You meant on the connectivity side, obviously something Colt's got a lot of experience with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what makes Japan stand out when it comes to that kind of international connectivity? Is there anything there that's particularly noteworthy?
I think Japan has a very long history of good connectivity, especially in the metropolis. So Colt was originally a telecom in Tokyo, so we built out our own fiber. We also lease unbundled fiber for NTT. So I think at the Japan side, there's a very good, strong, robust network. Obviously, Japan is an earthquake country, So when NTT, ourselves, or other people are building out networks or fiber, there's very strict regulations to what that fiber has to be in the ground, the depth, the structure, the security.
Right.
So I think the network is very strong here.
Okay, so earthquake-proof fiber.
Yes.
And what about the subsea side of things, like in terms of the more like international connectivity? So we're seeing I think with Google and some European projects trying to connect directly to Japan through the Arctic to Scandinavia.
Yep.
That kind of international connectivity is kind of growing, I guess, rather than it just being with the rest of Asia Pacific. Do you think that's going to change kind of the data center market in any way, or?
I think we'll have some impact on the data center market, but I think the real impact on the data center market will be the Japan domestic market. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of the companies in Japan still have a lot of on-premise or their own data centers that still need to move to the cloud. And I think that transition will still take place over time. So yes, international cables, international connectivity is very important, but I think the real growth in the Japan data center market will be because of domestic demand.
Got it, okay. Yeah. And that, as you say, you think the public cloud providers, so your Amazons, Googles, Microsofts, are going to be the kind of biggest tenants going forward with that kind of digitization in mind?
Yeah, I think all the companies you mentioned, I think Japanese companies will also start growing. I think we'll see a lot more Japanese cloud companies and AI companies coming on board as well.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. What about Chinese cloud companies? Is that something that you're expecting here as well?
Yeah, I think they've shown a lot of interest in Japan. I think they have a big market here. I think their products are used by Japanese people. So I expect that we'll start seeing more Chinese data center companies and cloud companies moving into Japan.
Okay. How does that widening kind of customer base change things for Colt, going forward when you're thinking about planning future capacity in Japan?
Well, we are customer agnostic in the sense that we don't have one specific customer that we serve. We serve all customers. So we see the market as a market that is evolving and growing, but there are some fundamentals that are similar for all customers. All customers want a robust infrastructure. They want a service that is responsive, which we believe we are. And they also want in-country expertise, which we think we provide. So regardless, which customer it is or where they're located from, we think we can meet their demands.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Just before we close out, if we're here back at Digital Garden in 2030, what do you think is going to be the top talking point on the agenda?
I'm sure it'll be how AI has changed Japan. We're now seeing a lot of AI companies moving into Japan, or a lot of AI development happening, but it hasn't really taken off to the level that we may have expected 2 years ago when OpenAI launched ChatGPT 4.
Is that in terms of how enterprises are adopting and using it?
Yeah, I think I've read a lot of places where individuals are using AI more than enterprises.
Yeah.
But if the individuals and people are using it, it's only a matter of time before enterprises start using it.
Yeah. Do you think it's a case of we've got to wait for that more general digital transformation to occur before kind of the AI can get layered on top? Or do you think considering the advancements in both technologies, that will be something that happens simultaneously?
I think it will happen generically. I think people will start to use it, and because people are using it, enterprises will use it, and then it will just become the default, the de facto system that people are using.
Got it. Brilliant. Padraig, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks a lot, Jack.
Make sure to check out techcapital.com for more news, views, and industry insights.